All right, everyone. My guest today is Martin, and he is the CEO founder of GHM Academy based in Montreal. And just a quick reminder of the ground rules and how this works. Martin, I'm going to start by badly explaining your business. It's not mean, it's just a way for you to open up and make it a little bit less boring. Then we're going to talk about fire, focus, and fortune. And I'll explain at each step what those mean. And we're going to try to go for 20 to 25 minutes, even though I understand that we could probably go for 2 hours. How does that sound?
That sounds great, Eric, but I just want to let you know one thing. I got a big mouth and you may have to just shut me up sometimes. Feel
All
free
right.
to do so, I have no problem with that.
Okay, recorded. Well noted. All right. So badly explaining your business. So if I understand things correctly, GHM Academy was started based on your idea that if you got to trick kids into having fun with maps, they might accidentally learn something.
Yeah,
How close did I get?
well, you kind of got it right because that's kind of was the original intention.
Oh,
But what ends up happening is that the map and the interest in people with just maps was something that was really difficult to sell. So what we wanted to give it was a twist, right? So how can we get these maps and the interest of people into something that is online and interactive? So I went back to my son. This is a bit of a story. Sorry, I'm just gonna go a little on a tangent here with my
go
kid.
ahead.
And he came in one day after school. It was basically, he was in grade 3 and he comes up to me and says, "Hey dad, history is really boring." And I'm like going, "Oh, we're going to have problems because, where I'm from, history is taught in all the grades, all the way to grade 11. So, I mean, it's going to be a long uh, few years, keeping on trying to fight with him." So I got this idea saying, you know what, let's put this online. Let's find a way so that he can have fun, learning geography and history, since both of them are attached to each other. And then this way he would be able to connect the dots. So often, like when we talk about World War I, well, if you're talking to this to a 12-year-old, I mean, World War I, where was it fought? Where were all these battles? Where did they happen? And how does that link up? And honestly speaking, you look at a book, you see a few old pictures, not very interesting. But suddenly you put it on a map, and then you could put the spot dead on where it happened. And then you can go on Google Street View and you can see where it went, and you can see the beach. And then you play a video of when the soldiers went on that beach and they attacked. And then suddenly things start becoming real to these kids. Oh, wow, this is a real place. This is something that actually happened. And then you have a bit of a text that explains the situation and things that have happened. And then on top of that, you may be able to even create some quizzes and test them out. So indirectly, you're kind of tricking them to learn about First World War or other subjects that you would want to. So that's kind of how I did it. So my kid went from one of the worst kids of learning history to actually the top of his class and also the top of his school board.
That sounds like an enormous amount of work for a parent to do. I don't think I'd be as good as a dad to invest this much time into creating maps and interactive videos. Or did you have like a paper-based prototype of what you're talking about, or was this software from the start?
No, it was actually a paper prototype that we did. We worked with some maps. We created 3 of them originally, and they had timelines on them. But what ends up happening is that you can only do so much with paper, right? And then even if I wanted to recreate the history of every single event, I'd probably have to cut down every single tree right on this planet. And wasn't a good idea. I like the environment. I want to kind
Yeah.
of save a few trees there. And the cost was getting prohibitive for schools to buy these maps. So I was trying to figure out, how can we get this done so we can do as many as we want, and actually maybe even people could create their own about different subjects, and it wouldn't cost a lot of money. So that's how we got into the digital world.
Okay. So normally we flow into fire, focus, and fortune. Fire being, what problem you're solving and what makes you care so much. I feel like you've already answered part of the question with the story of your son of what made you sort of care this much. But what were you doing at the time? Did you already have a business and you decided to pivot and to sort of double down on this thing, or how did it become your main thing?
Okay, so what really happened is that my wife and I own a tour company, and we've been owning it for since 1997. It was doing very well. It was a very successful tour company, and I had worked in the tourism industry in the past. One of them was working for the Cosmodome in Laval with Canadian Space Agency, and I worked in different fields, always related to education, though, sort of taking information, making it simple, and teaching it to the kids. You know, the Cosmodome is the Canadian Space. It's sort of a space camp, right? Most people know it as space camp. So what I did there is I created information that was easy to absorb, like how does gravity work, or how do we send a space shuttle in space, and all this stuff. So, you know, Bill Nye the Science Guy sort of style.
Yeah.
I was kind of doing all that things, and I worked for another company called Mad Science, really cool company, and I created some of their educational programs. So why I'm segueing to this is that our company was one that was this style. It was a tour company. So when we went on tours, we didn't just want kids to go, oh, well, we're going to point to you. Well, that's where the Battle of the Plains of Abraham happened. What we would do is we'd actually reenact the battle. So we had them in British and French, and we had the kids, you know, falling onto the floor and, you know, and pretending to, you know, get shot. And then we explain the whole situation and how things have happened. So we were always a company creating interactive things. But then as we were doing this, I realized when the kids come to do a tour, they don't have quite all the information that they need. And that made a sort of an educational hole in their understanding of what we could tell them on a tour, right? Because we're with them with 7 days, but the teachers are there with them for 183 days or 186, depending what school, you know, you're going to. So they can really prepare these kids. So with these maps, the idea behind it was to prepare the kids to go on these tours, to learn about history. And when they got there, they went, aha, I recognize this. I was on Google Street View and I saw this, and now I'm seeing it real. So it, again, we just get that click in their minds, you know, kind of sort of that spark. And I tell you one thing, I've been on over 100 tours myself as a tour guide, and to see that spark in the eyes of the kids when you were telling something to them and they understood it, it's worth $1 million.
Right.
And that's how much I spent plus to create this program. And as I was creating this program and we were bringing it into schools because we were doing alpha testing, I would suddenly see this in the eyes of the kids. And then I would see the need of the teachers, how they needed better quality material at a lower cost in the classroom so that they would be able to get these kids involved, because not all the kids can go on a tour, right? Not everyone can pay, you know, $2,000 to go somewhere. So suddenly I saw the need of this program. So as I was creating the program, as I was feeling this need to be able to help these people, because I'm someone that likes to do this. I love to help people. I love to see that spark. I really want kids to learn and to have fun learning also.
So one thing that just popped into my mind that I did not plan on asking, but you're not a technical founder, right? And yet your product, it's fundamentally a technology product. How does one get into this thing without sort of burning up all their money, or did you burn up all your money? How, you know, tell me what that's like.
Well, okay, so I've done a lot of things in my life, and one of the things I did do is I did some programming early on when you know, computers came up, and I really liked programming. So I did it as sort of a sidekick more than anything else. And I worked for a company that produced mapping, which, you know, kind of
There we go.
online mapping.
Pull on the thread.
That's right. There's the thread a little bit. So I love engineering. I love creating programs. I love to engineer programs. That's one of my favorite things to do when it comes to creating, you know, online applications. One of the things I really don't like to do is, to be honest, is code. I find coding very tedious and hard. Not hard. It's not really hard, but it's just tedious, to be honest. And you got to be really precise in what you're doing. And but I love structuring it. So these two loves of teaching and programming and creating online software was really, you know, the perfect match for this company, for GHM Academy.
Right. So, all right. That's a good
Oh, and
answer.
sorry about that. And you asked, did I burn all my money? Well, well, our company was very successful. Let's just say successful enough to be able to absorb, the investments that we put in. The problem now is that we're in a pandemic, right? We all understand that, the reality. So we did have to shut down our company. I had to lay off all my employees, which was sad in a certain way.
I'm
Some of
sorry to
them
hear that.
had, oh, it's okay. I mean, and some of it had been working for us for over, I think, 12 years or so or more. And so what we decided to do when this was starting to happen, we said, we're going to launch everything into this. So my wife hopped on to the company and we invested and we hired a few more people and even more programmers. And
Wait,
we decided
I,
to go for it.
I,
Oh, go for it.
I,
Sorry.
I just realized that I misunderstood what you said. So you shut down the travel agency company in order to invest all the marbles into the software company.
Right now, yeah, that's exactly
Okay.
what we did.
Right.
That's
I understood
ex-
for a second that you shut down the software company. So I was like,
no, no,
that's
no, no, no,
news to
no.
me.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. We didn't shut down the software company. No.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I gotcha. Listen, one thing that I was talking about GHM to a guy that I know who used to work for Rio Tinto. And one of the first things that he told me when he heard about it was like how much of a, phenomenal culture building tool for employees this could have been, right? Because he says his company is, was built together through a lot of acquisitions. They bought Alcan here in Quebec. Um, rich history spanning all over the world. And then they're like, look, if we were able to tell that story to employees in an interactive fashion like that by exploring maps, how great would it be? And then I spoke about it to to somebody else, and he was like, screw that. What I want to see is the layout of the land of Westeros and just Game of Thrones this shit, so that I could find out that next week when the episode comes up, we're going to cross this ravine or something. And this is the flight that Siri took on the dragon and all that stuff. And I'm like, so you've decided to focus on education, a place where budgets are tight, sales cycles are hard and take a long time. You probably could have taken this thing a lot of different places. And so I understand that you live for smiles and on kids' faces and stuff like that, but what made you decide to be completely focused in here and not sort of try to maybe edge your bets a little bit or place a little bit more bets or go a little bit wider? Like, tell me about that a little bit, the sort of market focus that you have.
Well, Eric, I mean, this is exactly what we did. What you just said and described is we took GHM Academy and it's actually almost fully completed into a full learning management system that you find for corporations or for basically companies.
Oh,
So yeah, it's very interesting. So the latest thing, which you're maybe not aware of it, but if you would go onto GHM Academy, we now have museums that are putting their virtual tours on GHM Academy.
right.
And that helps our sales cycle because you can sell to museums all year round, right? They will, purchase the ability to put their stuff online, and they want to reach what market? They want to reach the education market. And since we have thousands of kids and teachers, well, it's a great way for them to say, hey, you know what? Come and check us out, check our museum, check out what we produce. And it's a good visual, basically good marketing tool in a certain way for them to be able to reach out to this market and also offer more content, right? Because it's all based on content, right? Why do you go to YouTube? You go to YouTube because it's got a lot of content, right? Or you go to, you want to see the content. So this is what we're doing. We're basically creating this platform where you're going to have a whole bunch of content where people can just have access to it, right? And then you have content creators that will put it on. So Rio Tinto, give you an example. They want to talk about their history of their company. It's great they want to tell their employees, but even better if they can tell it to the world. So by putting it online like this, they actually now can tell it to the whole world. And then they can tell people how they help people and how Rio Tinto changed certain villages and invested and did this and did that. Not only did they do basically, aluminum or, metals or transformations of different metals or mines, they can show what impact that they have on society and how they can help people.
So now you're
So
starting
yeah,
to
go ahead.
tap into the marketing budgets and the branding budgets and the corporate sort of recognition budgets. That's interesting. That's got to be at a whole different level. Are you gonna abandon education because of that once you get hooked to to those budgets?
Never, never, never. Education is going to be always the heart that my heart is for it, because our goal, actually, I'm going to tell you the craziest goal I've got. Craziest goal is right now, when a parent sends their kids to school, it costs them roughly about $200 a year for those textbooks, right? Textbooks and workbooks. Our system, our goal is to replace every single one of these workbooks, French, English, math, science, all of them, and charge $2 a student. That's it. Now you say, well, okay, that's great, but how do you make money? Well,
That's great, but how do you make money?
yeah, exactly. I could almost interview myself right now.
Yeah, I'll just go and you let me know whenever this.
Okay, I'll let you when I'm done, right?
Hit the stop button.
So what happens is that these companies are interested. So once they have a certain interest, they'll be ready to invest. And this investment of basically putting their story, their side of the story, right, online, and permitting people to read it and see it, that has a big value. And by doing so, they're actually funding also my product for schools.
Okay, so you're using those faster sales cycle in order to be able to fund the core fundamentals of your business and drive those forward. Very smart.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. And it's look at it as a circle, okay? Like this, big circle. So you have the schools. So the more schools I have, the more students I have, the more teachers I have, the more museums and organizations are interested in actually telling their story to them. So then suddenly the more content I have from these organizations, museums, etc., that wants to tell their story, right? The more schools I'm going to get because I have more content. So the more money I have, the more I can promote. The more money I can promote, the more schools I get. And then it just keeps on going round and round.
So one of the things that you seem to be really focused on is understanding what some people would call your virtuous circle or your flywheel, right? So you understand the things that are bringing cash flow and margins in your order to invest that into the core of the long vision.
That's exactly what it is. It's a virtual circle, and great word. I love that word. It makes us sound intelligent.
What I do.
Oh, yeah, why not? Let's go. So yeah, we are of course, like anyone in any company, in any startup, it's the barriers that you have to face, right? The first barrier is it's like a mountain, right? Well, I have a question for you, and I'm going to ask for you. How do you get over this first mountain?
Are you the interviewer now?
I'm going to ask you a question. I'm flipping.
Am I getting hijacked?
Yeah.
All right, I wasn't ready for it. So what's the question?
The question is, how do you jump over this big hurdle at the beginning? Like, how do you say, okay, I'm all in? You have this big wall, let's say big concrete wall in front of you. How do you get over it?
I gotta say, for myself, I'm not sure if this is the answer you're looking for, but for myself, the dream of what's on the other side is what kind of carries me.
Okay, so I'll tell you how I do it. I grab a pack.
I got a feeling this whole setup was for you to tell me how you're doing it. So yeah, please go ahead.
That's exactly it. So you just grab a wallet full of money, right? And you chuck it over the other side.
Interesting.
And then you're forced to climb it because you want to get your money.
All right. And you're gonna do. I feel like my answer sucks. So you basically throw your backpack over the fence, and then if you want to eat, you got to be able to climb that fence. So that's
right.
In all honesty, though, I think you did. I heard you say $1 million at some point. So is that like you dropped a fairly large portion of your personal assets, and then you're like, all right, now I'm all in. This has got to work.
Yeah, that's the thing. It has to be. You have to be all in. Any company that you want it to be successful as an entrepreneur, if you're not all in, it's not going to work. Right. If you listen to Dragon's Den or you listen to all these different shows, right? What is the first thing they say? Well, are you doing this full time? Right?
Right.
Because they want you to be all in.
Yeah.
And they want you to put in some of your sweat equity in there. They want you to put in real equity, money. You know, if you're in that way and you're driven, you're going to succeed.
Right. I love it. I love the image. It's a very strong image. Congratulations. All right, that's almost our time. But I wanted to ask you, what's the, you know, tell me a little bit about what's the next challenge. What's this next fence that you got to climb? And
Well,
did you throw your backpack already?
oh, I've thrown my backpack over 3 fence in front,
Oh,
so I got a few fence to climb before I get to my backpack. What is our next step is really to start getting these museums online, really getting, you know, museums, organizations that want to put things on GHM Academy. And the nice part about this is that, and I'm going to do a little sales pitch here.
go ahead, please.
If they do, they get these metrics that are incredible, right? They're able to follow, track. And not only that, they permit schools to be able to use their material in the classroom setting, and they're able to be these professionals, right? These guys that actually know the stuff and bring it into the classroom. How many times do we hear, you know, teachers say, well, the stuff that I have is 10 years old, right? So often what they're teaching our kids, it's not even the reality of what's happening in the world.
Right.
Well, I'm going to send all your business people out there a challenge. Well, then help out the schools to get up to speed. So that way, when these kids graduate, they come into your workplace and they're already up to speed, and you're going to get the best employees you can. Amen. So that's what I'm sending out as a challenge. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good. It's like you rehearsed this thing or something. You're that good of a sales guy. Good.
Oh, yeah. I didn't rehearse anything. This is actually really off the cuff, all of it.
Perfect. Well, it shows that you know what you're about. So that's I can only respect that. There's one thing I put on my note that I forgot to ask you. Tell me about the brutality of the sales cycle related to trying to sell to our school systems.
Okay, so I've been doing this since selling the schools since 1992, roughly.
Wow.
It's extremely difficult, but one of the advantages that I have, it's because people know me. So the ideal way to sell to schools is actually have a salesperson that knows schools, because they won't talk to you, you know, if they don't know who you are. But if they know who you are and you have friends and principals and teachers, and so you leverage those relationships that you have, then you'll be able to enter the sales cycle a lot faster. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing. Anyone that wants to just start off and they've never sold to a school, it's going to take them about 3 to 5 years.
Just for their names to be known?
Just to start getting sales.
Oh.
It depends on what you're selling, of course. But if you're selling something new, innovative, it's going to take a while. So there are companies out there that do this, that do sell for schools, and you know, those where I would start to do a pitch. If you're selling something new, approach them, because right, they'll be able to guide you a little bit and help you out. That would be my suggestion. Now the sales cycles for school is, like you said, it's very, very difficult, because number one, you got to reach the teachers, because they're the ones that are the decision makers. And then the teachers have to ask the principal, which they're the decision makers. And then the principal has to talk to the school board, because they're the decision makers. So you get my point, right? Each one has a level of decision making that they do, and all depends on the cost of your product. So yeah, brutal.
Okay. All right. Martin, that's about our time. Thank you very much. You've been super generous and very interesting. And I appreciate that you shot a challenge out to all the other entrepreneurs out there. So that's very cool of you. All right,
hey,
man.
thanks a lot, Eric. All right.
Bye.
Okay, take care. Bye.